Russia's Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov has met with Prime Minister Modi in just the last few minutes alone, on a day when he's also held talks with External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. Those visuals from earlier. Now, this is, of course, very significant indeed, given that Prime Minister Modi has not met any other visiting foreign ministers in the last 2 weeks, including those of the United Kingdom, China, Austria, Greece and Mexico. So at a time when Russia is at war in Ukraine, of course, they choose to call it special military operations there, the Prime Minister meeting Russia's Foreign Minister. Earlier, Mr. Lavrov holding talks with Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar, and the high-level talks taking place amid indications that India could in fact buy greater volumes of discounted Russian oil. Both sides are also keen on having a ruble-rupee arrangement for bilateral trade. Mr. Lavrov repeatedly praised India's independent foreign policy and added if New Delhi wanted to buy anything from Russia, we're ready to discuss it.
We will be ready to supply to India any goods which India wants to buy, and I have no doubt that a way would be out to bypass the artificial impediments which illegal unilateral sanctions by the West created. This relates also to the area of military technical cooperation. As regards I mentioned about oil supplies and supplies of high technology. If India wants to buy anything from us, we are ready to discuss and to reach mutually acceptable forms of cooperation.
When questioned on the possibility of Prime Minister Modi acting as a mediator in the Ukraine crisis, this is what the Russian Foreign Minister had to say.
Serious country, and it is not. And if India sees that to play that role, which provides resolution of the problem, then problem in this present condition, India as our common partner. We are for the security guarantee being offered by Ukraine. When West has ignored its responsibilities, and if India is with its position of just and rational and a rational approach towards international problems, then it can support such process.
Let's go across to Vishnu Shom, who's been tracking that big story. Vishnu, that meeting that was expected to take place has now indeed happened in the last few minutes, we believe. But of course, several significant remarks being made there by the Russian Foreign Minister prior to that.
So 40 minutes is the meeting that the duration of the meeting between the Prime Minister and the Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov over there. It's a very important meeting because Russia has reaffirmed its ties, the basis of the equation with New Delhi. The statements made by New Delhi also reinforce that close relationship, Russia making it absolutely clear that they're willing to export us anything. This would obviously include absolutely state-of-the-art weaponry should India choose to actually buy it. Mr. Lavrov mentioning that a way is being found between the ministries of either side to ensure that international sanctions don't affect the transfer of funds between Indian banks and Russian banks. On the entire issue of whether Mr. Modi or the government of India at some level could play the role of mediator given the crisis in Ukraine, the Russian Foreign Minister seemed to suggest yes, that could be possible, but he was a bit more guarded in his statement and a bit more deliberate in his answer than the Ukrainian Foreign Minister was a couple of days back, when he said in an interview to NDTV that yes, absolutely, if Mr. Modi could do something, that would be great and Ukraine would accept it. So it's also interesting, and you mentioned this earlier on, that this particular meeting which has taken place with the Prime Minister comes, and it's very different from what we've seen in the last couple of days. The Foreign Minister of China, of the United Kingdom, of Greece, of Mexico, among other nations, were not granted this meeting. So Russia obviously occupies an important sort of association or part of a diplomatic framework which New Delhi values very, very greatly. One final point, That said, New Delhi was absolutely clear that the territorial integrity of nations had to be respected, the sovereignty of nations had to be respected, international law had to be followed, and the United Nations rules and regulations needed to be followed as well, and this was made in a statement released by the External Affairs Ministry.
Right. Vishnu, thanks very much indeed for joining us.